Thank you for joining me today. And today we are going to have a conversation which I believe is a key conversation, especially to almost everybody. So if you have just graduated, or probably you are a student, you are unemployed, or you are employed but you believe you are underpaid, or probably you have all the time grappled with the question of what is my purpose, we are going to have a short conversation which I believe befits you very well. And here is where our conversation will lean on how to create an extra stream of income. Because I came to discover, or this is the truth, and I believe everybody, as far as you are 18 years and above, you have experienced this reality. All the time, we find ourselves, we are at a point where the income we are earning, in one way or another, is always limited compared to the ones which that income is supposed to meet. So what happens? Many times, this is what we do. We go ahead and borrow so that when we earn that little income, we can pay the debt. And of course, we pay the debt at a cost, either interest or profit. So that is what usually happens, especially if you are 18 years and above. And that's why one day when I was young, my mother told me, everybody in the world usually has a debt. I never knew back then what she meant until I was 18 years. So how can we start solving a reality of that kind, whereby the kind of income we are earning happens to always be limited compared to the ones which that income should meet? And I believe what we're supposed to do is to ensure we have extra streams of income, or extra inlets of income, other than the one which we have. Now, I know people have tried, okay, that is common knowledge. That is, if you are getting 50,000 and the ones which you have to meet, or the needs which you have to meet, 70,000, you need to come up with an extra inlet, a business probably, to give you the 20 or even more. That is common knowledge. But what I've come to discover is a challenge is this: identifying which business are you going to venture in to give you that extra 20,000 or that extra amount which your current income all the time falls short in terms of meeting your needs. For example, let's approach this conversation from this angle. Probably you are a banker, probably you are a civil servant, or you are an entrepreneur, you have a small business, and at the end of the day you get your profit and you try your best to meet your needs, and it's like there are deficiencies after deficiencies. And then you say, if you are working in the private sector, or if you are working as a civil servant, you decide, where can I open a shop, probably a cereal shop, or probably an electronic shop, or any other kind of business, probably a beauty parlor, or even a barber shop. And you get some loan and you go ahead and you invest. Then somewhere along the way, you are like, your projections are not aligning, or the real results in the marketplace are not aligning with your projection of the income which you expected to earn. Immediately you start your investment. At the end of the day, you get disappointed and you end up closing the business, and you still go back to where you are. Income, unlimited ones, which that income cannot service. So what can be the solution to all this? Or probably you find yourself that you have just graduated, like the guys who graduated the other day. Congratulations. From whichever university which you graduated from, congratulations. It is not easy going from grade school, primary school, all the way to accomplishing or completing the 844 system. You deserve an applause, and that's why I'm clapping for you. Congratulations if you graduated. So you might find yourself, you've just graduated and you have been sending a CV after a CV, and nobody cares to call you for an interview or to give you a job. You have tried to talk to everybody to connect you to get a job, but at the end of the day, nobody seems to be coming through. So you might be in such a situation, or you might be employed and the truth is you are underpaid. What you are producing for the company compared to what you are earning, the truth is you suffer underpayment, or you are being underpaid. So that could be your reality. So how can we approach this situation of an income crisis, whereby the income is always limited compared to the assignment which is supposed to sort? And you see, the most interesting thing is this: across the globe, right now we are around 8.2 billion of us. 10% of that population should be around 8.2 million. Out of 8.2 billion people, 10% of that population happens to be filthy rich, and their wealth multiplying day in, day out. On the other hand, 90% of the globe's population they happen to be stuck in one spot in terms of the money they make, the income they create. And they are like, the rich are getting filthy richer, and those that are low-income earners are stuck there. And if the income is growing, it's growing proportionate to the rate at which their needs are growing. So if this is the reality, how can we at least have the population of the filthy rich at least increase and the population of low-income earners at least reduce? Because when that will be happening, we'll have less financial stress, or that would mean a solution has been found of all the time we have a salary and income which cannot meet our needs all the time. Or probably, if I would say, this would really mean that there is a solution to the current financial crisis or financial stress affecting individuals, especially the common citizens, be they of Kenya, Africa, or any other country. Now, for us to get the solution, we have to seek to understand, what did the 10% do? Because someone told me, Tony Robbins, my mentor, he told us that success always leaves clues. There is always a pattern to success. The people who became successful did not become successful and they completely erased the route which they used to be successful. This is what they did. Every path, every step they were making on their journey to succeeding, the footprints remained. So wisdom is studying the pattern and the pathway of the minimum population, that is of that small percentage of population which is filthy rich, and know which staircase did they use for them to be there. And you see, people will say, every other person says this. I started listening to guys saying this when I was in primary school or when I was a teenager. Now I'm at 50. This does not help. But can I tell you something? This is the truth. You have never ever challenged yourself to attempt. And sometimes it can be difficult, but the only way to remain consistent in attempting to transform your life from a low-income earning person to a wealthier person is this: seeking to study the patterns and the footprints of the rich guys. Once you do that, you will discover majority of them at a particular time of their life, they were in a worse situation than you. And then they remained consistent, went through the failures, some of them failing 110 times, uncountable times, but kept pushing until they found a breakthrough, until they found a way which catapulted them to where they are today. And that is what many of us, we are challenged in terms of income. That is one of the things that we lack. We decide, I've learned the path of how I should probably emancipate, or how I should set myself free in terms of financial freedom. You come up with this business idea, then you start it, you fail, and you quit. If you decided you're not going to look for a job, and you start working on this particular idea, you start implementing the idea, you rush it at the marketplace, and as you implement it, as you trade in the market, this one particular thing happens. You probably make a loss, or probably the outcome in the marketplace contradicts your expectation, and as a result of that, you just say, let me work on my CV, let me go get a job in this particular office, in this particular company. That is the only way to survive. So that is one of the reasons why many low-income earners find it difficult to transit to high income. And you see, the most beautiful thing is this: the inner us, which is familiar with the potential which we have to rise to greatness in terms of wealth. That inner us all the time keeps on assuring and reassuring us that you are born great, one day you will become great. So the assignment is usually the outer us, trusting the inner us, and we jump into the space of working hard, studying the path of the greats, and pursuing those paths until the potential within us to unleash wonders in terms of wealth creation is unleashed, and that propels us to wealth. Therefore, as I said, we need to study what that small percentage of guys at the top whose wealth is multiplying day in, day out. We need to study what was their genesis, and we need to study their gradual growth to where they are. And I will summarize that within few seconds. If you research about the biggest giants in the marketplace, especially guys like Elon Musk, guys like Mark Zuckerberg, guys like Bill Gates, guys like Aliko Dangote here in Africa, all those guys did this one particular thing. And when they are doing interviews or talks, You will even hear them repeat this same thing again and again. Those guys discovered this one thing, their passion in life. And then what they did, they converted that passion into services and products, or they directed that passion into a sector in the marketplace, which gave them a platform to innovate products and services in the marketplace with their passion. And what birthed their passion? This is what many people do not know. Strengths within their abilities, or strengths in their being. So this is what they discovered. They have got some special advantage in terms of their nature, or in terms of how they were built. So they discovered, for example, if it's speaking, they can speak better. If it's thinking, they can think better. If it's observing the environment, they can observe and come up with a particular conclusion. So let's study what that small percentage at the top, what they did, or what happened for them to find themselves at the top. I know many people will say, like, in Africa it's corruption. That could be true. But before those guys grew to a point where they can have the opportunity to be corrupt and become filthy rich, something began somewhere which propelled them to those platforms. And I'm not saying that in Africa you become rich by corruption. There are guys who sweat, and there are guys who even work day and night, burn the midnight oil to become filthy rich. So I credit them. So what happened when you study anybody who is influential, when you study anyone who is filthy rich and super rich? This is what happened. When they were younger, or at a particular stage of their life, they discovered they had some natural abilities which were unique in them. And what they did was this: they discovered those strengths, or those natural abilities they had, they would capitalize on them in coming up with services and with products for the marketplace. And immediately they entered in the marketplace with their natural abilities, with their strengths within their personality. They had what we call a natural advantage in the marketplace, because they were backed by their passion, and also they were backed by their natural being. And you see, when you do something out of your nature, when you do something out of love and out of passion, simply because it is what you are, it is something which is implanted in your being, in your personality, in your identity. This is what happens. You get some natural energy to keep going. You get inspired and even challenged to come back, even in moments of great losses. And that's why when you listen to the story of Elon Musk, you'll discover that guy, he was saved by NASA and also President Obama. He had tried to invest, he had tried to send rockets in space or on space times after times, and he was almost going bankrupt, because sending a rocket to space is not cheap, it's quite expensive. So he had almost utilized everything that he had. And if NASA never came in for them to partner space exploration, or President Obama didn't decide that the government was going to support guys who had invested in his sector, that guy would not be known today. But guess what happened? He remained there. Even when he had nothing in his account, even when he knew what he was going to spend in launching the last rocket was going to render him bankrupt, he never feared. Fear never gripped him. Why? He had a natural advantage in the marketplace that backed his wire, that kept him in the marketplace. And I want to tell you, the key to rising to immense wealth over time is this: discovering the strengths within your nature, discovering how you can turn them into services and products in the marketplace, discovering how you can turn the strengths within your identity as your innovation tools and creativity tools in the marketplace. Because once you discover that, this is what happens. When you are in the marketplace, you come forth with creativity, with innovation, which no one has ever had. Why? You have a natural advantage. In other words, you are naturally genius at that. And the reason is because the Creator built those traits within you in such a manner so that you can come here on earth and bring forth products and services which can solve people's problems. Now imagine the problem that Mark Zuckerberg solved, the problem which Steve Jobs solved. Imagine the problem which Bill Gates solved, and many other guys who are innovating things day in, day out. And that's why I challenge all of us. If you think that you need an extra stream of income, kindly join SkillsBridge Pro Cohort 4, because what we'll do is we'll lead you to identify one by one your natural abilities or the strengths within your identity. And after you discover them, we will show you how they are a market brand name. And from there, we will show you how to develop services and products for the marketplace from your natural abilities. And then after that, this is what we'll teach and train you. We'll show you how to grab opportunities and also how to bridge market gaps, how to grab opportunities in the marketplace and also how to bridge gaps in the marketplace. And once this happens, you'd have developed skills within your nature, and you'll use your certifications, academic certifications, as a leverage even to propel you further in the marketplace, especially in negotiating, in marketing, and in all that, and also in boosting your credibility in the marketplace. Therefore, kindly join this class. Also, something else which will happen or which will train and teach you is this: the challenges which you are going to face in the marketplace, because they are there. And we'll show you how to overcome those challenges. Then after that, we will show you now how do you manage the abundance which will start flowing into your life after you go into the marketplace, trade with a natural advantage, and dominate. That's why I say, if possible, after you get your certifications, or after you get your certificate, kindly seek to know what are the strengths within your personality, or what are your natural abilities, and what is the market brand name in those natural abilities. What can they offer in the marketplace? Because you see, when you are employed, anything can happen. USAID folded up anytime. Any company can fold up anytime. A new government can come in and policies can change. So we are never safe, and that's why I believe the Creator created us to be safe all the time. And that's why He wired within all of us unique abilities, what we call gifts, what we call talents. And everybody has a unique ability. Everybody has a strength. It could be singing, speaking, thinking. It could be the way you arrange your things. It could be anything. It could be helping others. It could be showing people love. All of us have a strength. And that strength within you, it is what the Creator gave you to come here on earth and come forth with a service and a product which you can serve humanity. And as they always say, whenever you give people what they want, they give you back what they want. So the assignment is this: you discover the strengths within your personality, because those strengths within your personality, which we call our natural abilities, are all the time in line with our passion, natural interest. That is where we think and rethink and think again. That is where we pour all our concentration in terms of what can I attempt to transform my life. So when you discover your natural abilities, you discover the gold mine lying within you. I'll end with this example. Now, how the earth used to be before gold was discovered. Beneath the earth, there was gold. Before the metal called gold was discovered, what was the earth? Just a mass of soil. Until a particular guy studied the soil or the earth with some keenness. And after studying, he discovered there's this particular rock which is different from the rest. And when they mined the rock and they refined it, they discovered it had immense value, because the metal called gold has got over thousands and thousands of uses. So they discovered beneath the soil, which generations and generations have been around, there is a rock which is highly valuable called gold. Can I tell you something? In the last 1 year, gold has transacted over 15 billion USD in the market. So what does that tell us? Before the discovery of gold, $15 billion was just lying idle beneath the soil. So my question to every one of us is this: what is lying within us in terms of value, which can be presented in the marketplace and earn you millions, and even apart from that, solve thousands and thousands of problems which humanity is facing today. The only way to unearth the immense value within you, which has your money, which can transform the globe by ensuring the population of the rich is widening instead of getting narrower, which can bridge the gap between the poor and the rich, is the value within your nature. And that's where Skills Bridge Pro exists, to guide men, to guide women on how to discover their natural abilities, the value in those natural abilities which can be tradable in the marketplace, and then train them on how to start a business using the same. And that is the only way we are going to co-share the wealth that Elon Musk has, the wealth that Mark Zuckerberg has. We need people to compete with Elon Musk. We need people to compete with Aliko Dangote here in Africa. We need people to compete with the richest people in Kenya. And the only way to compete is co-sharing in innovating and creating services and products which serve the people of Kenya. Because whenever you solve someone's problem, you are appreciated back with money. So the only way we can share the wallet of income in this country is having as many young people as possible, as many men and women as possible, discover the strengths within their nature or their natural abilities, turn them into services and products for the marketplace, of course with creativity and innovation. That is how, for example, Manu Chantaria, who is one of the richest people in Kenya, that is how what he offers to Kenyans. He will discover there are other young Kenyans who can offer the same. And therefore those young Kenyans will share customers with him. And as a result of that, the billions which he has will start being distributed across the country. Therefore, this is what I will tell you. It is good to have certificates. I have my certificate. I have my degree in economics and finance. It's good to have that. But don't rely on it alone. You never came empty. You came with natural abilities. Let your certificate, as I said earlier, be what boosts, what anchors your credibility in the marketplace. So discover your natural ability, the product and service it can offer in the marketplace. That is value, that is wealth, that is money. And jumping into the marketplace with excellence and vigilance. Work day and night towards the same. Bill Gates discovered the idea of Microsoft. He spent hours and hours working on that software, weeks after weeks. When Mark discovered the idea of Facebook, he worked on it 2 weeks non-stop, not going to class, sometimes not sleeping, working on it. It has raised him to where he is today. So seek to know your natural ability. Know and master the business in those natural ability. Work on them with everything within you. And I want to tell you, that is the only way the low-income earners will transit from struggling to meet their needs with the limited income that they are having. And they will transit from that state to the state of financial abundance. And at last, we can have financial equality or equity. And can I tell you something? No government can bring financial equity. No organization can bring financial equity. It is men discovering their natural abilities and discovering the business in them and stepping into the marketplace with creativity, with resilience, with courage, with a vision, with ambition, and with a mission, and with a heart of executing that vision and that mission with every breath within them. That can bring equity. But if the low-income earners keep blaming the richest guys, equity will never be achieved. So kindly join Skills Bridge Pro and you will learn what I've just explained. The gold mine lying within your nature. And once you discover it, the rest will be a lot of money. The rest will be saving humanity from the current problems that they are facing. Starting 15th all the way to 20th, that is 6 days. You'll spend 6 days of your time mastering how you can turn your natural abilities into a sure, safe stream of income. And at the end of the day, you'll have spent 18 hours of your time in valuing yourself, in personal development. And you see, when we value ourselves and when we develop ourselves, we never lose that. We stick with that to our last breath here on earth. 3 hours a day, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., seeking to master your natural abilities and how they are a business for you. And I want to tell you, in a year, 2, 3, or 4 years, you will discover that you have solved the challenge and the equation of all the time you have some income, yes, but the ones that income should meet are unlimited. John Mwankanki, thank you.